how can we not look at the Dow Jones index? And we can see that it's caught within this descending channel. And interesting enough, that 40-week moving average represented by the red line has changed into a support last week. And that weighted around 25,054. And we know that if this channel plays out, and it has been confirmed now, it can take this Dow Jones to a record high. However, we can see that the indicator is showing toppish formation over board levels, which makes the probability of a pullback likely. However, I can't see it in a candle pattern yet. The momentum to the top is clearly in place. Having said that, Amazon is one of the shares that I previously have highlighted and want to look at it again because, I mean, recently, they just had fantastic market cap, over $1 trillion. But there's a head and shoulder formation on this graph that we cannot ignore. And technically my first warning formation or my first warning signal was when that 40-week moving average changed into a resistance. And that shooting star candle tested the moving average and retraced from it. And that is seen as negative. The confirmation of weakness will be below $1,586. And only when this share changes $1,723 into a support again, will I be a little bit more optimistic about Amazon. Now, Amazon has, we can say a lot of things about Amazon, but Amazon's graph is warning. And technically, my first conservative target for Amazon will be $1,214 when this neckline changes into a resistance. So keep an eye on that 40-week moving average, especially this lower band level there with the strong support. The formation or the warning of this formation will only be off the table when that 40-week changes into a support again. If I look at Amazon, I have to look at Facebook. And Facebook, we've previously highlighted this week, this graph, and I mean, there's some nice notes on it still. That 40-week moving average was tested and changed into a resistance. This week again, tested, changed into a resistance, and that is seen as negative. We can see there's tweezer top formations on it, and a tweezer top formation is a warning formation. It highlights to investors that there's a possibility to bank profit and that the share might be running out of steam. And we can also see that the indicator is heavily overbought at the moment and that the shorter moving average has broken downwards through the longer term moving average. Another share that we want to have a look at is John had Barrick Gold that he wanted to have a look at. Now, Barrick Gold is listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and there's a nice inverse head and shoulder formation on Barrick Gold. And technically, that neckline for Barrick Gold is waiting at $13.68. And when that level changes into a support and remains one on a weekly graph, we can see higher levels on Barrick Gold. Interesting enough, the formation will only be wiped off the table when this lower band of the right shoulder waiting at $11.77 changes into a resistance. What is the target of Barrick Gold? My conservative target will be, let me take the smaller shoulder of the two, the left shoulder, and I project it upwards. It can take this share to $14.86. And the full target of the formation is, if I take the length of the head shoulder and I project it upwards, this share can go to $17.73. We know everything doesn't shot up in one session, so you might have to take a profit as it goes. Interesting enough, this 40-week moving average represented by the red line has now changed into a support. That tells me the long-term sentiment towards this share has also changed to positive. Let's have a look at the gold price because that is a good indication of what might happen with Barrick Gold and all our other gold counters. We can see obviously heavily overbought because of the long rally it's had, but the momentum to the top is clearly in place. This instrument has changed the 40-week moving average into a support and kept it one. It found a little bit of resistance there around $1,297, but when that level changed into a support, it just continued to rise. The strong level of resistance that needs to be overcome will be around these levels. That is $1,357, because we can see previously that this level has tested a couple of times in the past and retraced from that. So if the gold price can change $1,357 into a support and keep it one, we might see the gold price again at $1,400 or even higher. I cannot not have a look at the platinum price, and that is one commodity that has been struggling for a while. But interesting enough, it is fighting the 40-week moving average, and that 40-week moving average is waiting there at $825. And if that level changes into a support, we can assume that the overall downside trend of the platinum price might turn around to higher levels. Interesting enough, look how closely that trend line that has kept the momentum to the bottom in place since around January 2018 is waiting very closely to the 40-week moving average. So we can assume that when that level changes into a support, that we can see higher levels, and below $793, we can assume that the momentum to the bottom will continue again. Sarah wanted us to look at British American Tobacco. And you can see that this share plummeted to lower levels. It gave a false whipsaw year when the 40-week moving average changed into a support, but then retraced further. And the first sign of hope was when that level around 460 Rand 85 changed into a support. And ever since then, the share is reaching for higher levels. But the long-term sentiment line in the sand is still waiting there around 605 Rand and 46 cents, and that is the 40-week moving average. So we can assume that the long-term sentiment towards this share will change to positive when that level changes into a support. Some of our overseas investors wanted us to look at a couple of international shares. And the first one I want to have a look at is Sterling Bancorp, listed on the New York Stock Exchange. We can see clearly that this share, when it changed that level around $19.58 into a support, it really reached for higher levels. And it is at the level where it's going to see whether it's strong enough, whether it had its Pronitro or Cheerios for breakfast, and if the buyers will be able to change that 40-week moving average, waiting at $20.88 into a support. This share is obviously, because of the rally, overbought on the stochastic indicator, which makes the probability of a pullback more likely. GoPro had good results this week, and this share is looking to turn around. I love the fact that the 40-week moving average, represented by the neckline, was changed into a support this week, and that weighted at $5.80. The share is caught within a descending channel. And that channel was now confirmed and changed into a support, and that is seen as positive. GoPro has been struggling for a while, but if this share can keep the momentum to the top in place, this share can easily reach for new levels. And I want to just show you how we determine the target again. It's the width of the channel projected upwards from where it was confirmed. So GoPro can go to $10.04 again if the momentum to the top continues. Again, my warning will be on the table when the 40-week moving average changes into a resistance, and especially this lower band, or this upper band of the descending channel, waiting there at $5.44. When that changes into a resistance, the warning will be on the table again. Freeport, we know we've tweeted about it. FreeportMcMoran, a copper mine in the US, has tested that 40-week moving average, retraced from it. But look how beautiful that head and shoulder formation was, a stunning hint that this share might be turning around. And when that neckline changed into a support, the share in 1 week had risen to higher levels. But it needs to change that 40-week average, $13.55, into a support again and keep it. This share looks good with that inverse head and shoulder formation, but it needs to keep that neckline as support, and especially that 40-week moving average. Nautilus is a share that makes listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and they make sports equipment. And Stephen wanted us to have a look at this share. And Stephen, I must be honest, I like this graph. The share is very oversold, which makes the probability of a bounce to higher levels more likely. And I like the fact that there is higher lows visible on the candles, and that tells me that the investors were prepared to accumulate the share on higher prices, and that is seen as positive. However, the share has to keep $7.92 as support and remain above it on a weekly close for us to remain optimistic about the share. Technically, below $7.29, the warning will be on the table again. This upper band of that trend line is waiting, if we project the movement of the share, is waiting there around $9.98. And when that level changes into a support, we can be fairly optimistic that the turnaround is on the cards here for Nautilus. The ticker on the New York Stock Exchange is NLS, for those of you who might be interested in it. Aerosmith is another share listed on the New York Stock Exchange that we want to have a look at. And nice turnaround, strong resistance that was changed into a support around $48.41. And this is a good dividend paying share. I mean, when the loss of momentum happened there around January 2018, the share has just seen lower levels. But I also want to highlight how important support and resistance levels are on graphs. And when this level around $45.20 changed into a support, the share found more buyers and reached for $48.36. When that level changed into a support, the share found enough buyers and is reaching for the 40-week moving average. Remember, no matter how valuable a share might look on paper, if there is not enough buyers in the market for that share price is not going to rise. And therefore, technical analysis is the picture to show and indicate whether there is interested buyers or very desperate sellers. Hope to see you next week. Have a fabulous week. Cheers.